Alright guys, welcome back to Valorant News. Big developments over the last 24 hours, certainly in the North American Challenger side, and also Def with the final confirmation as to the Sentinel situation and to what his next step is going to be, and plenty of reaction as well for many of the Sentinels members that formerly had him as teammates. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Let's dive straight in as well to what happened in the EMEA region last night. Two big games yesterday that were going down. One of them was Team Liquid versus BBL. Big game here from Nats. He's really been turning up lately. I've been very impressed by him. And Team Liquid get the job done. Competitive series though, went all the way to a 3-mapper. 13-11 game 1, 13-7 to BBL game 2. Great map from their Jet player as well, but then 13-7 back the other way. So good stuff from Team Liquid in the ends. The other result though was KOI finally getting a victory. Okay, they had a victory before, but I mean it's been down there in the bottom of the EMEA side where people weren't sure, is KOI the worst? Is Karmine Corp the worst? I think KOI were 1-6, and the only team they'd beaten was Na'Vi, so it was quite kind of a weird situation where Na'Vi right at the top, KOI right at the bottom, but yeah, 2-6 now for them. They beat Heretics last night, which pretty much ends Heretics' intentions of getting into the playoffs, and it, well, basically forces both of these Spanish teams out. Giants will still make it though, and with BBL's defeat, they're still 3-5, so it's actually super competitive here, right, because Fnatic, of course, are away and gone. Liquid with that victory last night are now confirmed, but outside of that, there's only a few more games, and things are going to get very tasty. Giants should for sure be good now, I think, because even if they're 4-5, their tiebreakers should be fine, but it's definitely very competitive over here. This, though, is the Pacific region, which is getting really tasty now. So Zeta lost last night to, I believe it was T1 they lost to. So T1 now 6-2. They lost a 2-1 series to them, which is leaves Zeta at 4-4. Now, they should still be fine to make it to playoffs. They played Gen G next, so also a pretty good team that they also lost, I think, to Paper X last night. So the top three teams are clear. DRX, Paper X, T1, and then it's pretty much Gen G and Zeta you would think would make it. But still, there's Team Secret. Global Esports aren't too far away with, I think they have a very slim chance to make it, but it could still happen. And yeah, Zeta Gen G is quite big because the winner for sure goes through, and the loser will be feeling a little bit concerned. So yeah, Zeta will obviously want to get the job done. I'm just hopeful that they can at least. They should be fine to make the playoffs, but once they make the playoffs, they will need to come, what, top 3, right, in order to qualify for Masters Tokyo. And right now, the top 3 teams, DRX, Paper X, and T1 are pretty clear. And Zeta, if they were to have beaten T1 yesterday, that would have given them, I'm sure, some confidence that they could be a top 3 team in the region and get to Tokyo. But it's far from guaranteed right now. But still, it should be okay. The storylines here are quite interesting with RRQ on the borderline of making it as well. And SK Rossi is trying his best to make it on the global esports side. Individually, he's been spectacular lately as well. If I'm giving it everything, I'm sacrificing a lot of things, leaving my home and coming here to play around 10 hours of practice a day. It should be worth it, he says. So hopefully it is, but right now it's looking tricky for them to make it. But I think they've done pretty well, all things considered, so far this season. Let's talk Crew, because they play a massive game. It's today, isn't it? Up against Sentinels. Or it's tomorrow, actually, I think it's Sunday. Crew versus Sentinels goes down, and they're actually making some roster changes for this. Nags is going to be gone from the team, which is the first time in quite some time that's happened. Obviously, they needed to make some changes. Davies is coming in, as is Axady. They're deciding to make some moves, and look, it's necessary, right? They've been terrible so far. They haven't had a victory so far in the stage for the America side, and if there was one time to have a bit of a honeymoon period with this new roster they're going to try out, having it against Sentinels would be quite the storyline. I know many Sentinels fans are concerned that with these changes being made now, surely eventually Crew are going to get a win, and maybe the Sen series is the way that it's going to be. Speaking of Sentinels, it has been confirmed now, because we saw yesterday that Def effectively confirmed that he's gone from the Sentinels franchise, but it was actually revealed yesterday as well that he's no longer in the contract database, so his contract has indeed been terminated, and he was replaced by Tended in the starting lineup, of course, and their game is tomorrow, so as I say, very big game indeed. And Def also gave a clarification here, so as he says, as you may know, I'm no longer a part of the Sentinels, not a part of the Sentinels. We left things amicably, and I decided that it was best for me to no longer continue playing the splits. So quite nice to see here from his perspective that, it was kind of his decision fundamentally on what to decide to do here. I'm sure the team also realized that a change was necessary, but, whether Def was the first one that reached out and said, hey, it's better for me to depart here, and therefore they work things out from there, who really knows? But as he says, the team didn't gel how we envisioned it to, and I will bear some of the responsibility for that. So, not all his responsibility, which I can understand. I mean, Def had a difficult job here, right? When you're bringing in a couple of Brazilian players with other players and various different teams in the past with a different head coach set up to, okay, Kaplan was there, Psycho was there with Def, but, you know, many changes at Sentinels. To make that work was a big challenge, and I guess, you know, Def wasn't really up to the task at the end of the day, but I still think, you know, probably slightly unfairly dealt with on this one. Special thanks to, and then goes over all the guys that he just was with. So Zekken, Psycho, Kaplan, Drew Spark, Pancada, Marved, Tenzin, Sassy. Of course, no mention to the CEO, Rob Moore, which I thought was interesting, but, you know, maybe understandable. These guys are all super talented, and I hope it works out. I'm now a free agent, so I said yesterday that I would expect, if Def did decide to leave, some free agency tweet, which is now here, and we'll take a short break to think about what I want to do moving forwards. Thanks for the continued support. So, you know, Def's been around a long time, right? He's playing Counter-Strike, now he's in the Valorant side. Would he go and join? I mean, like DSG, we'll talk about DSG in a second, they probably need a new IGL. Could Def go there, or is it more likely that, you know, Def would potentially step in to a coaching role somewhere? I feel like he could be very valuable in that type of situation, so yeah, I guess just some things to think about there. And also, Zekken says, gonna miss you, man, good luck in what you do next. So yeah, I think the team giving Def a lot of, you know, credit and love for while he was in the roster. Obviously, things weren't working out, and therefore something needed to give. Pancada say good luck in the future, old boy. And then we get this from Sentinels. They actually say something, can you believe it? You had a hell of a task in front of you, and we appreciate all the hard work and leadership you brought to the team. See you around. So yeah, fair play. Sentinels did something. It's no like goodbye Def tweet, thanks for your support, but they did at least reply to him, so there's some closure on that side of things, and we'll see whether this works when they play Crew tomorrow, which I'm very much looking forward to. So also big matches going down last night in the Challenger side. We had, you know, Vanity queuing up here with M80 EU, and we also saw, well, Screwing here, or played at least with Marved a little bit. So yeah, we'll see how this goes over the coming days. We know that M80 are still a very talented team, and they played last night against GSG. Before we get to that point though, we've got to discuss the other match that went down. That was the Guard versus Mad Lions. Quick victory here for the Guard. It wasn't super convincing though again, and I will say that the Guard are looking good, don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously Net had a nice play in there, Valin and Trent were topping the numbers, and I've mentioned a couple of times now they would be, I thought last year they were going to be key targets, because as soon as the Guard didn't make franchising, I expected certainly Trent to get snapped up by a tier 1 team, and probably Valin as well, but that didn't happen. They've stuck it out pretty much as a roster, and their roster is very good, but all of a sudden, right, Challengers has become way more competitive. Last split, it was very convincing, right, that it was M80 the Guard, number 1, number 2, whatever order you want to say it in, and towards the end it was actually G2 that made a run. M80 still won the mid-season invitational, but lately it's been a different story. Okay, 13-10 are here on Lotus, and then 13-11 on Binds. Mad Lions have been getting better, they played well, and it's not been easy running for the top teams. Now, unfortunately for DSG, one top team that it is easy for when they play as DSG is M80, and they looked like the M80 of old, and maybe that was partially because DSG are DSG, but as Disguise comes up with, okay, so if we beat M80 2-0 today, and the Guard beats Mad, and next week the Guard beats G2, then Moist beats FaZe, Mad beats Or, M80 beats Oxygen with a round differential of +17, and Turtle Troop beats Shopify Rebellion, and we also beat TSM 2-0, then they make the playoffs. So yeah, that was the calculations that were done, and this swiftly came crashing down, of course, after they failed to beat M80 2-0. And look, Ye had a nice, I think he had an ace in here actually. I'll share it for you guys maybe here in a second. So Ye did his best to game 1 to try and get them over the line. Game 2, he wasn't quite there to the same level. It's interesting for Ye, right? I know there's all this talk about, well, since Chambers gone, Ye isn't quite the same. I mean, that was actually a pretty ridiculous ace he got there. But M80 regains, they went to Lotus, and it wasn't long before this series was done and dusted. So, I mean, the amount of times this has happened now, where DSG will tend to go down to M80, and there were just some insane moments here, to be honest. M80 were just taking the victory. Like, I think they knew the series was won, and they were just, I mean, this is just like tier 2 Valorant at its finest, and DSG are just so lost at times. Their defense was basically non-existent as well. M80 just ran through them. The coordination isn't really there. Ye isn't on point all the time, and it's not exactly unexpected. He doesn't have the support crew that he previously did, right, when he was on the Optic team. Chamber isn't there anymore, so on that pure level, he's probably going to be marginally less impactful than he was previously. He's still trying his best, but yeah, DSG is a roster, they're not going to cut it, and unfortunately, this is pretty much the end of their chances.
Look, he doesn't exist.
It's hard to, yeah, I think it's hard to flush him out right now. Good flash.
Maybe not fully.
Nice, there you go.
Koala Noob keeps trying to ego check Ye, man.
Nice. He's up for the ace. Oh, what the?
Oh.
Guardian in hand starts to tap for John.
Oh!
No, killed him.
Oh! Yes! Yes!
Let's go!
$1 million well spent!
Let's
go! Let's go.
Ye's just so wishy-washy. It's not even like Ye's so wishy-washy. It's they need some more time together because obviously Ye's a really good player and everyone else in the team as well. But they're still trying to find their footing as one. So I mean, I hope the guys on the team aren't too hard on themselves. Hopefully Toast is not too hard on himself. It's just been a lot of unfortunate things happening. Kind of similar to Sentinel, just like no stability in the team. And this is what it'll lead to. The fact that Toast has a team, Ludwig has a team.
And again, I have to also credit this guys for they never gave up, man. They kept trying to make roster changes. They were trying to make role
that's
swaps.
another
They
part
were,
of it, dude.
You know, make
That
the
is
big
another
signing,
part of
bringing in
it.
Ye, this crazy superstar.
That's why it's just
they
like
certainly did not
saddening,
fall to
'cause
complacency or give up at any point in time.
Toast is trying to do his best, but
certain players didn't click. Certain roles.
I hope he
didn't
can
quite work
stay
out for
positive
certain
too, because
people.
like
it just didn't quite.
it's not his fault or anyone. Not to glaze too hard, but aside from the fact that M80 are such a good team, I feel like they're like their players are pretty likable and they're humble as well. So I do feel like it's I guess like when it's a group like that, it's nice to see them win as well. But yeah, like they're not like cocky like assholes or anything.
So I think making playoffs now is pretty much out of reach for them, right? I mean, Exalt had a pretty tough time. Obviously, they made the call to drop Steel, bring Exalt in. Doesn't really seem to have changed anything, let's be honest, right? 13-7 here. The defense, as I say, decent first half. The defense just didn't happen, though. And the same thing on Lotus. 2 defense rounds over the entire series is far from ideal. So, yes, M80 get the job done. And that leaves things looking like this. So, DSG 0-4, 2-8 map counts. I think that's over for them now. They didn't do well enough first time around. I think making playoffs is pretty much out of reach now for DSG. So, unfortunate stuff. Hopefully they don't get relegated, but it's definitely possible. If they don't win their final game they play, I think relegation, or at least going down into that relegation battle, is very possible for next season, which would be very unfortunate. But M80 now 3-1, up there with Oxygen, Turtle Troop. So, yeah, playoffs are going to be crazy. DSG aren't going to be involved, though. Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.